As you likely know, President Trump and his wife Melania, along with a handful of others in the Trump administration, have tested positive for the coronavirus. After spending a few days in hospital, Trump has returned to the Oval Office, but made sure to make it clear in a video message, I quote, "China's going to pay a big price for what they've done to this country."
It seems as though the president is planning to use the fact that he did indeed contract COVID-19 to his political advantage. Maybe he feels personally slighted by it, or maybe he simply sees it as an opportunity to prove something. Either way, he's brought the vendetta against China back into the spotlight. So what does this mean for the two countries?
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. I'm one of your hosts for this one, Jared Bronstein.
And I'm your other host, Keegan Hughes. Today on LBQ, we are asking, did President Donald Trump officially declare war on China? We're trying out some new things on the channel, such as double-hosted videos, so let us know your thoughts on this one down below.
Stick around to the very end of this one, guys, as we got some bloopers and comment replies from another video. And if you guys want to see similar content, we got a little playlist that we made right around here somewhere. It's always at the top, I never know for sure. But for now, let's get right into it.
So as we know, President Trump has come out strong against China for pretty much the entirety of his presidential run. He's done his best to paint them as a major enemy even before the virus was a concern. When the pandemic started though, he put his rhetoric into high gear. It was rare for Trump to call the virus by its official name and would often refer to it as the China virus or the China plague. And stating where the virus came from wasn't enough, so he made sure to claim that it was indeed all China's fault. During the first debate with Joe Biden, he claimed that the virus is China's fault. It should have never happened. By playing up China's failures and ignoring the lack of solutions in the United States, Trump has managed to distance himself from accepting blame. Whether other people accept that is questionable, but it's worth noting. All of this is important to note when looking at President Trump's recent statements on China. He's been looking for ways to disparage them before, and now more than ever he's got some ammunition to work with. After being sick with the virus that he blamed China for, his base has rallied around him. If he's blaming China for making him sick and sticks to the claims that it's all their fault and nothing else could have been done, it could end up being an interesting situation. He'll likely ride that point all the way to the election and potentially try to make some big changes in dealing with China. After all, he did say they'll pay a big price for what they've done to the world. What that price is exactly is yet to be seen.
Of course, to no surprise, China's leader has chimed in regarding the situation, outright saying the country has no intentions of entering a Cold War with any country. In fact, he warned of a, I quote, clash of civilizations, and went on to express, I quote, "We will continue to narrow differences and resolve disputes with others through dialogue and negotiation. We will not seek to develop only ourselves or engage in zero-sum game." However, just a few weeks back, it seems China's prez was singing somewhat of a different tune, taking a shot at the United States, claiming, I quote, "No country has the right to dominate global affairs, control the destiny of others, or keep advantages in development all to itself." Ironically, China has been accused of doing just that. Still, it seems China doesn't have much interest in engaging in any kind of war, especially while they deal with tensions with India, which have been going on for years. At the UN General Assembly back in September, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres opened the meeting by claiming, I quote, "We must do everything to avoid a new Cold War. We're moving in a very dangerous direction." Without directly naming the United States or China, he went on to explain how important it is to keep relations between the countries stable, seemingly hinting at the two powerful nations. I quote him saying, "Our world cannot afford a future where the two largest economies split the globe in a great fracture, each with its own trade and financial rules and internet and artificial intelligence capacities."
Naturally, both countries would like to avoid any sort of expensive issue. A lot of this sort of relies on what President Trump means when he says China will pay and be held accountable, and how Xi Jinping responds. China doesn't want a Cold War, and I don't think the United States does either. Across the board, that seems to be a bad call. But what would happen if it came down to combat, cold or otherwise? China has been pushing towards taking over more territories lately. They've advanced their claims in the South China Sea, along the Himalayas, and over Taiwan. These are all areas where the US already has a military presence, so they could be potentially dragged into fighting. Plus, it seems as though the People's Liberation Army has been tooting its own horn. Videos were released talking about their ability to take on the US military, and a lot of state-run media outlets have been saying that Washington better not test Beijing. China has also found themselves clashing with India lately, which could potentially drag other combatants in. With the United States and China being so far away from one another, a Cold War seems to be the only possibility, with plenty of proxy fighters engaging in small-scale combat. The United States would likely team up with India, leaving China to figure out who their allies are. Border contests might become more common, and other countries could be pulled in. Would Russia and China pair up and exert power over neighboring countries? Would the United States be able to drum up some allies to help fights on different fronts? Or would the war be one of money and resources? It is possible that trade talks could totally fall apart and that the United States and China halt any pretenses of being on good terms.
It's also very important to remember we're less than a month out from the US presidential election. Although Trump is currently the country's leader, that could change, which inevitably would change the relationship between the US and China. As Keegan previously mentioned, the Trump administration will likely use this entire situation to their advantage, in hopes of gaining votes by pandering to those who have similar beliefs and views. Not to say that Biden is necessarily pro-China, but it seems evident he wouldn't be nearly as aggressive toward the country as President Trump has been since taking office. And depending who does win the November 3rd election can very much so determine how the future looks not only for these two countries, but the rest of the world. If Trump continues on with his sanctions against China and remains in charge for another 4 years, it seems quite evident the relations between the two countries will continue going in a downward spiral. If Biden wins, however, he may try to improve relations and would likely want to start importing much more from them. Aside from that, unlike President Trump, whose focus is maintaining that the United States is the most powerful and best country in the world, it's likely Biden takes a more worldwide approach, not putting his country's best interests in front of others if it means significant repercussions for said others. A great example would be how President Trump hasn't shown much interest in working with the rest of the world to find a vaccine for the current pandemic, something Biden would likely want to do. However, it's also very important to mention, as much as people dislike Trump, he's also been one of the most peaceful, if not the most peaceful president in the history of the United States. Since he's led the country, they haven't started nor been a part of a single war, and he's removed troops from overseas. Can China change that? Depending if he wins this year's election, that's to be determined. However, as of now, he hasn't officially declared war against them. So I think it's safe to say, as of now, no, he hasn't declared war, but if he wins the election, we might head that way.
It's possible.
I don't know.
He's been leading up to it for years.
I think it's much more likely if he wins, yes. If Biden wins, no. I think Biden will try to salvage any kind of relationship with China, and I think he's gonna try to make the focus important a lot more from them.
Definitely, yeah, and he'll want to distance himself from all the Trump-China talk. You know, he wants to be the opposite of Trump. So that's if he wins, that'll be that. There'll be no more hearing about China every day.
But on the flip side, given how China is currently as a country, I don't know if Biden's gonna want to necessarily get in bed with them and support them because they're doing some pretty shady stuff.
Yeah.
So
the Uyghurs, a lot of people are condemning them for that.
Yeah.
Was it 39 countries?
39
condemning
countries,
them?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
which is tough, but they are on the way to being like a superpower.
Yeah. I think they already are, kind of.
Oh, definitely.
Like they're definitely up there.
Yeah, and they're kind of doing things totally on their own. Like they've got their own population, they've got their own gigantic piece of land, and they are really not asking for too much help from other folks.
And another very interesting thing that we didn't even talk about really is obviously Trump's relations with Russia. He's not necessarily pro-Putin, but he's pretty.
There's that still confuses me to this day.
You know what I mean? It's I don't know if they're friends or not.
Relationship there, I have no idea.
I don't know.
What's going on.
I don't know how Biden would handle that. I don't know if Biden would condemn Russia and then Russia would team up with China. Who knows? So. Just gotta wait and see how this one plays out, guys. We got a great season finale for 2020 coming your way.
Oh boy, we'll have to live tweet it, just make sure everyone knows. Before we head out, we've got some comments from Did The Simpsons Predict Donald Trump's Death? Eno Jan Cert Cert. Oh boy. Apologies if I mess up your name. Our scripts are a little funky right now, but Eno Yana Cert Reven says, The Simpsons can't predict the future. Real world events turn out to be similar to events that occurred in The Simpsons are nothing more than predetermined prophecies.
Wow.
Basically, people see something that happens in The Simpsons and then make them happen in real life. So you're manifesting Simpsons episodes in real life. Like you see that, you're like, hey, The Simpsons predicted that, I'm gonna go do it.
Let's go do it. I've done a lot of videos on The Simpsons, and the writer literally just said, he's like, we literally just write about what we know.
Yeah.
He's like, history repeats itself.
There's so many episodes at this point, it's hard to imagine they didn't cover
they grew up in the 60s and 70s, and they were going through a pandemic then, so then they just wrote an episode about the pandemic, and then everyone's like, oh my god, they predicted this one.
They knew about Ebola?
No, they're like, and a lot of it's Photoshop too, actually.
Oh yeah, there's so many fan arts that look like the real thing.
Like Trump in the coffin, that wasn't even an episode.
Oh yeah, jeez, eh?
Yeah.
Aye.
But watch the video anyways about it.
Yeah, go rewatch it, come on.
Ethan Kindred wrote, how do you walk into a store with a mask and leave with less money?
Pretty much like life these days, isn't it? I just feel like I could pull a Nick Cage in Raising Arizona, pull a sock over my head and hold up a convenience store for fun.
Oh, I get it now. At first I was like, I don't understand and then I realized he's
because we're all going into stores with masks these days.
Yeah, it really is. I wonder how. Do you think it's easier? Do you like to pull off a robbery?
Probably. I feel like people's guard is down, like the people that are working in the shop, somebody walks into the mask, they're like, oh, totally normal.
Mask and a hoodie, and it's just like, whatever, it's just cold out.
Fine. Hands in your pockets, you don't touch anything.
Scary times.
Which, Lag37 says, what if Raptors were real?
They are, they won the championship last year.
Last year, 2019, let's go.
Go Raps!
Go Raps!
I mean, they were real at one point.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, they probably look a little more like chickens than we're imagining, but that's kind of sick either way.
I always wondered, like, can we talk about how, this is like totally unrelated from this video, but can we just talk about how nobody knows what dinosaurs actually sound like and we just assume?
Yeah, we just got some guy to like sit in the room and be like, hey, what do you think a dinosaur sounds like? And he picks up his mic.
Who determined that? Who was like, yeah, that sounds right?
I don't know, like an archaeologist with a lot of imagination.
They're just big and we think they have deep voices? Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, that
what
sounds
if
like a tiger, just scarier.
like chickens or something, you know?
Yeah,
like big T-Rex going around.
What if they were really small? Interesting.
That'd
We
be
should go
fun.
back in time. T Moss says, I want to know how cavemen reproduce. Can you do a video on that?
I would assume like
Same way we do.
like, you know? I don't know if cavemen are that different than us.
They just, you know, they got the P and the V and they
Yeah,
just...
they bump uglies, that's it.
I guess, yeah. But how do you know what they sound like too? They'd be like,
No, they were also making chicken noises back then.
Alright guys, we're gonna wrap this one up. As you can see, we had a lot of fun doing a double. So if you guys enjoy these double type videos, let us know in the comments down below. I've been one of your hosts, Jared Bronstein.
I'm Keegan Hughes.
And we got some bloopers you don't want to miss out on, so enjoy these. We'll see you
Rock
soon.
and roll.
That's it. You just try to find like, oh, I just said that. Like, I don't want to repeat myself. What else could I talk about? Yeah. Melania. It's Melania, right?
Melania.
Okay.
Yeah.
UN Secretary General. Oh, why would it f up his name like that? I think it's just Antonio.
Yeah, it looks like it.
But man,
Can we look it up?
I don't know why I'm struggling so much with this video.
And what would happen? There are all areas that the